It is about looking at what you want for your life, hearing what they want for their life, and choosing together.
Today, I have with me Courtney from Dubois Consulting. She is a behavioural and relationship consultant, and I'm so excited to get into some of today's questions.
As a businesswoman, we will literally step into our masculine energy to run our business.
You've kind of had to show up differently and become a new version of you. What have you gained from everything that you've lost?
Are you going to wait to become a better version of yourself, or are you going to invest in yourself to the level of what woman do I need to be that attracts this type of man, this type of business, this type of monetary reward, these types of friendships? Because what you are is what you attract.
Welcome to Unmasked Founders with Leslie Kay. This is the podcast that goes beyond the highlight reel of entrepreneurship. Instead of focusing on the accolades and achievements, this show explores the real moments that shape founders, the challenges, the breakthroughs, and the lessons that transform both the business and the human behind it. Hosted by me, Leslie Kay, an entrepreneur who has built empires and discovered the cost of success. Unmasked Founders is a space for honest conversations about growth, resilience, and staying true to who you are. Whether listeners are just starting out or scaling to the next level, this is where real stories are told. Welcome to Unmasked Founders, a conversation with me, Leslie Kay.
Hi guys, and welcome to Unmasked Founders, the conversations behind the highlight reels of what it really takes to build big in business. Today I have with me Courtney from Dubois Consulting. She is a behavioural and relationship consultant, and I'm so excited to get into some of today's questions. Hi Courtney.
Hi, thank you for having me.
My absolute pleasure. I would love to, start with a little bit about who you are, what you do, before we get deep into the unmasking. I would love everyone to have a little bit of a feel for the woman you are and the work that you do in the world.
Yeah. So basically how I got into this was I fell into it, basically head first. I've lived it my whole life. I've lived relationships that have been abusive, patterns that allowed that to come into my life that I wasn't aware of. So very much unconsciously driven. And it all stemmed from things that I'd experienced when I was in childhood. So I tried psychology, I tried psychiatry, none of it was working. I got to the point where it really was, I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't want to try and figure anything out. And it was by sort of divine intervention that I stumbled across the modalities that I now use, NLP, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, and that was the game changer.
I love that. And I have a similar story actually, where typical high achiever, did all of the PD and like leadership coaching and that sort of stuff in my career when I had my big recruitment firms, and kind of actually breathwork was my gateway drug. I did breathwork one day and I realized how like closed, cold, rigid, unemotional that I was. And that led me down a path of NLP, hypnotherapy, certified psychedelic coach, all the things. So I think having those modalities and that awareness is great. And I also really believe that being the woman that struggled, that brought yourself to those lessons and those modalities is important. It's like you have an embodied experience of what having a shit life is like and what having a great life is like. So I love that that's the path that you've walked.
Yeah.
I would love to know, and you kind of actually hinted to it in that little opening, what has been one of the most confronting things you realized about yourself on this entrepreneurial and growth journey?
I actually had a very entrepreneurial father, and I grew up comparing myself to him unconsciously from the time that I understood who he was and what he did. So, and I never in my mind lived up to that. And I believed that I had to for a very long time. I believed that I had to do business his way, and that's through no fault of his or my mother's. But I just saw something that was amazing that I admired and thought that I should be that. So I had him on the entrepreneurial side. I had my mother who was thin and blonde and beautiful and the most vivacious, incredible woman, graceful woman. So I had parents that I was starstruck by. And I fell into the want to be that, and I never lived up to it for so many years.
Well,
And that I think has been the biggest comparison that I've ever had, you know, that perpetuated all the cycles of not feeling good enough.
yes.
And not feeling like I could, you know, grow something of my own in my own way, you know, as I was constantly trying to be someone else. So aside from the personal things that I was going through, that's probably the biggest thing in business that I've had to overcome.
What masks do you think you wore because of that?
Oh, perfection. Perfection was my biggest hurdle.
Yeah. How did that impact your business and life?
Yeah. So it just meant that everything had to be perfect. I was scared to take chances. I was scared to take risks. I was scared to reach out to people. I was scared to collaborate with anybody. I was scared to be seen. I was scared to be heard. You know, I had so much shame underneath what I was doing, you know, and so much imposter syndrome of, you know, I'm so glad that that's becoming a buzzword now where people are actually realizing what it is and that it exists. But yeah, that was a big one for me, was the perfection, and overcoming that to just be like, just tell your story, get it out there, own what you've been through. That was the biggest.
I love that. And, you know, the intention of this conversation is to help women unmask themselves. So if there's a woman sitting there and she's listening to this and she's thinking, wow, I can relate to all of that, what are some questions that they could ask themselves, or things they could do, I guess, to start to bring more awareness to this part of them? Because I think in my experience, oftentimes awareness is one, yes, and that's great, and we can start a line of inquiry, but we need to start taking action. So if someone's literally just picked this up and in the first 5 minutes we've already hit some really good gold, what would you say to those women that are sitting there going, yeah, I am a perfectionist and it is impacting my business? What would you say to that woman?
You need to reach out to someone for an objective opinion, because my healing didn't start until I fessed up to what was going on. And you can't, a friend actually said this to me, and it's a great way to describe it. You can't see the label if you're the source in the bottle.
Yes.
So, you know, you can't see what's going on objectively if you're looking at it through your lens.
Yes.
So whether that is, you know, and I caution in reaching out to family and friends too, simply for the fact that they're always going to want to keep you safe. They're going to want to keep you in the version that they're comfortable with through no fault of their own, but they're going to want to keep you where they know you're safe.
Yes.
Nothing grows from there.
Yes.
So you need to reach out to someone. If you're having that feeling of, you know, I am a perfectionist, I don't know how to deal with this, quickest, most effective way is find someone you resonate with. Doesn't matter what their title is even. Find someone who you resonate with and have a frank conversation about what's going on and how you feel.
I love that. I also, love family and friends are probably the least accurate reflection, because either they're going to be really harsh because they're projecting, or they're going to downplay it because they're trying to protect you and potentially don't have their own awareness that they can bring into it. And I also love the sauce bottle analogy, because the biggest thing I hear from women in business is, I'm so self-aware. And I'm like, great, but what are you doing with that awareness? Because awareness is like one part of the equation. For a very long time, I used to hide behind being a high achiever and self-aware and doing the work, but I wasn't actually creating change. I actually used it as a mask to not have to do the work. And to trick myself into thinking, well, I'm self-aware, so I'm better than everyone, versus I'm self-aware and this is the action I'm taking to change my behavior, or to be a better leader, to be a better partner, to be a better mum, whatever it might be. So I love the sauce bottle analogy, because I think...
And this is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Well, I was just going to say, I think people think they can see and diagnose themselves, but they're probably not as accurate as they need to be to start to create change in their lives.
Is almost indirectly proportional to success, right? You know, when you become more and more successful, you have more and more experience, you become more and more, you know, well-versed in your field, you really do have that, you know, you've overcome some imposter syndrome, or you've gotten to the place where you actually like yourself and you're proud of yourself for what you've done. That's the place to watch, because then you can get into this rut of, oh, well, I know everything and I'm good. I've done the work. And that is something that grates on me so much when people have said they've done the work. It's like, okay, have you done the work today? Really? Have you done the work on what you're going through, you know, what you might face tomorrow. Like, we're ever changing. Life is transitional. So my biggest advice to anybody who's experiencing any negativity is negativity is your indicator. If you're experiencing a negative emotion or a negative situation anywhere, that is where to look, because that's a belief that needs to be checked. That's a behavior that needs to be checked.
I love that. And I say all the time, I'll forever have a coach or a mentor in something, because I'll always have a blind spot in something. And it's not to say that I'm forever healing or forever doing the work. I just know that I can't see myself. And in fact, doing the work is a forever journey. And I think for me, I'm always cautious of people that say, well, yeah, I've done the work, or I don't need someone to help me with that because I've been doing this for years. I've been building businesses for years. My job is to literally help women scale their businesses, and I have someone that helps me scale my business because I can't see what I can't see because I'm in it. And I really love the bottle analogy.
I thought it was so great.
It's so good. I'm going to use that so often now. Because some people, like, I need visual representation. So I loved that. I'm like, oh, yeah, the source can't see the label. This is great. I would love to know, what does business cost you? And it, you know, could be an identity, could be a period of time where your life felt like you were losing things, and maybe with retrospect you've gained some things. But I think, in my opinion, business, especially if you're resisting knowing yourself, if you're resisting being in relationship with yourself, which is really the game that we're playing, it can be really hard. So in this journey of becoming, and it could be recently, it could be back at the beginning, what do you think business has cost you?
It's cost me everything. Absolutely every measurement that you can measure yourself as a human, it's cost me. It's cost me personal relationships. It's cost me all of my money. It's cost me time. It's cost me relationships with with friends, with, you know, people who are going out and partying and whatever. I've left friendship groups as I've grown and as I've changed. You know, it's cost me. It's cost me exactly who I was at every stage of my life. It's like, you know, shedding your skin. You know, as you grow, you know, it's shedding that version of who you were so that you can climb the next rung, and it's shedding that version again so you can climb the next one. So the woman I am now is very, very different to the woman I was 10 years ago. Like, people who haven't seen me for 10 years and then they come across my profile on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or anything, they would be laughing their ass off, because the woman I was back then had no friggin' idea about business herself or anything else.
I feel that so deeply. I feel like we're kindred souls.
We probably are, because we're on this journey.
It's like you could be talking to a version of me. Same. 10 years ago, I honestly, people don't believe me that know me now, and people that knew me then, and not everyone has the capacity to reach back out and build a relationship, but I have women that knew me from my like world record recruiter days, and let me tell you, I was a bitch. Like, there's no way to sugarcoat it. I just wasn't a nice person. And with the awareness I have now, it's basically because I was afraid and scared and needed to control to keep myself safe. But I was just not a nice person. I wasn't a good boss. I was very controlling, demanding, micromanaging, really high expectations with no return. So yeah, I feel business is a great catalyst for self-evolution if you're willing to do the work. And I also loved what you said. I knew there was something else I wanted to bring up. This like tension that people feel, or if there's anything like going wrong in your life, one of the biggest things that set me free, and what started this journey for me, was I had things going wrong in my business, and there was 3 things that happened literally like every 6 months something would go wrong. And I sat down one day, and up until this point, I'd outward projected, like, it's this guy's fault, or it's the market's fault, or it's this fault. And I sat down one day and I was like, oh, I'm at the center of all of this. Like, this business deal that went south and this man that fucked me over, like, there is some truth to that. And I was at the center of that. And this business failure and, I don't know, team members leaving, I was at the center of that. And I literally sat down and took stock of everything that had felt, and like, you know, my marriage was failing. And I was like, wow, everything feels like shit. And it's me. Like, I'm at the center, and I stopped trying to find excuses or reasons or people to blame outside of me. And I was like, I'm the problem. And if I'm the problem, or then I didn't say I was a problem, I was just like, well, I'm the common denominator. So what am I not seeing that I need to see in order to stop these things from happening? Now, I would say shit things continue to happen. You just have a bigger capacity to deal with them and hold them. And different things happen. For me, it was a lot of men betraying me, because my story was, because my dad left, that men were always going to betray me. So yeah, I love if things keep going wrong, that the only answer is you're the problem, unfortunately, in every scenario. And everything good and everything bad, you're at the center of it. And the quicker that people realize that and actually go, wow, I really want to understand myself, the quicker your life will get better, is all I want to say.
Yeah.
For anyone, again, that's listening to this and they're like, shit, Courtney just said that business cost her everything, that might be thinking, do I want to do this? If you're anything like me, I wouldn't change it for the world. And I'm assuming that yeah. So can we speak to, like, yeah, it's cost us everything. And I'm similar. I lost a marriage and a business, but I didn't actually want them in the first place, is what I discovered through this journey. What has it given you? What, on the other side of this realization that you've kind of had to show up differently and become a new version of you, what have you gained from everything that you've lost?
The short answer is freedom. The short answer is the freedom to live my life on my own terms, make my own decisions, and live or die by those decisions, and I think you find that becomes less scary if you, have someone that's walking it with you, supporting you in it. And, I have my coaches are my good friends. I have a professional one as well. My husband is trained in the same, in the same area as I am. So we have amazing conversations around that too. It gives you freedom, and it gives you the ability to enjoy your life to a capacity that you would never be able to living by somebody else's rules. It's the most incredible self-empowerment journey that you could ever go on, because you learn things about yourself and about your character. My husband's favorite quote is, and I've adopted it since, is circumstances do not make a person, they reveal them. So you are revealed by the journey that you take. And if you take risk, and if you take calculated risk, if you take risk and you go for it without any hesitation, you will find a version of yourself that you so deeply respect and love and want to nurture and find out more about, that life just, I've got goosebumps all over me. Life just opens up in a way that I could have never imagined. I always had that kind of feeling that, because I'd seen good things happen and I'd seen my dad succeed and they were happy. But I think there's a different fire inside who you are. That's not to say we're better than anyone, but there's a different fire when you're living and dying by your own decisions.
I love that. And I say you're not defined by your circumstances, you're defined by the choices that you make.
100%.
Because we all have a choice. I grew up like poverty, abuse, and I chose to change and I chose to be different. And in business, I think people can assume they don't have a choice. Like, I have to keep this client because of X, Y, and Z, or I have to show up this way because of X, Y, and Z. And it's just not true. Business becomes a lot easier and more fun. Like, it's more life-giving. It gives you more freedom if you're in integrity and alignment with who you are whilst you're in business. And
that's it. And don't build a business if you don't know who you are.
Truly.
Yeah.
Well, let it shape you. I think, like, to your point, it's an ever evolving process, an unbecoming and a rebecoming, but don't go into it with rose-colored glasses thinking it's going to be easy if you're not willing to let it shape who you're becoming. And the only way to let it shape you, I guess, with integrity or embodiment, is let it reveal who you're becoming as well as who you've been.
Yeah. And don't be scared of it.
Truly.
Biggest thing. Like, we've grown up, and I talk a lot about this with my clients that I work with. We are conditioned from the time that we are very, very young to believe certain things about ourselves, about our families, about the world, about the people around us. We are brought into a society that is controlled based on lack mentality. So we are given a set of beliefs that if I strive for this, I'm not going to be okay. And the underlying belief of that is if I don't belong, I'm going to die. If I can't look after myself, I'm going to die. That's the fundamental human need that we all need to avoid if we can. And when people are struggling and they're like, oh, do I just go back and get a job, or what's the worst case scenario? Put yourself in that scenario. Are you going to die? Or are there people you can reach out to? Are there conversations you can have? And that's where the circumstances really reveal the character of the person, is if they're able to do that. And nobody's born with the ability to do that. We learn it, and we learn it through the process.
Truly, truly. I love that deeply. I want to touch on, and, I've stalked your socials and I've heard you in conversation about your husband. And I was the high achiever that hated men in my past relationship, and all of the healing work basically was to actually trust men and have a conscious relationship. And me and my partner are like same team always. And I would love to start to dissolve and get your expert opinion on this. I find a lot of women feel that they can't have both. And I constantly have conversations around what we call compromise is actually sacrifice. And society has taught us that we should compromise and that we should be happy that we have a husband that loves us, even if there's no intimacy, or even if he doesn't meet our needs, or even if there's no true emotional connection. And then this comparison of like, well, I should be grateful because people have it worse than me. And for me, I had a multi-million-dollar business and like the picture perfect husband, but we hadn't had sex for over a year. We didn't really connect on an intellectual level. And for so long, actually a year before I left him, I put it off because what would people think, because he's such a great man?
Yeah.
And I would love to have a conversation around dissolving some of this, in my opinion, societal expectations or society's programming that it's normal to compromise when we're actually just sacrificing our needs because we don't want to be greedy. Yeah. And for me, I was like, well, I should be grateful I have $1 million business and my husband's never going to cheat on me. He's a nice guy. He's not going to abuse me. Like, people have it worse off. Maybe I'll just stay. So I'd love to talk to, in my opinion, this mask of like settling and sacrifice and what you see, and from a woman that, in my opinion, does have both, and you can say I'm right or wrong. How do people get to that, and what are some of the conversations we need to be having?
You've got to be radically honest. So you've got to be radically honest with yourself, and you've got to be radically honest with everybody around you. Because compromise is settling. Compromise is sacrificing. It is giving up something that you want in favor of keeping peace, in favor of whatever, right? So you get to the point where you have to have the conversation that may hurt their feelings. You have to have the conversation with as much kindness in your heart and awareness and clarity, and it is your responsibility to get there so that you can understand that what you say is going to have a consequence with that other person, and you have to hold them in that. You have to be willing to support them in whatever they feel based on what you need to say. And this is the biggest thing, and this is what 90% of my clients bring to me, is exactly this issue, is, okay, I've got this business. I want to have a relationship with this other person. I have time constraints. I have location or geographical constraints. They have expectations of the relationship that I'm not fulfilling. So when I get that information, it's like, right, what are the conversations you've had? What are the conversations you haven't had? What do you want? What do they want? The first thing I do is check their alignment. And say, right, do you want the white picket fence and, the house, or, and roots and whatever else? Or do you want to be traveling all over the world and, living your business nomadically and all of that type of thing, right? Have a look at the alignment, where it's misaligned, and then you need to talk. And you need to be really radically honest about what you actually want. And as we're humans who are transitional, that is going to change. So this archaic, societal conditioning that we have, that you get married and that's going to last you the rest of your life, I call bullshit big time. because you are not the same person you were 10 years ago. We've had that conversation already. You are not the same person as you were last week. So it is about looking at what you want for your life, hearing what they want for their life, and choosing together. I wrote a whole book about it that's coming out in a couple of weeks. Permission to choose. At any single point in your life, you need to be having these conversations. And any negativity is the indicator that you need to have one.
I love this so much. I mentor high achieving women to scale their businesses. Most of my conversations end up in, what does your relationship look like?
Yeah.
Because I also think there's this false pretense that we can compartmentalize. And I used to think this way, that I leave my personal life at the door and I just get on with work. But women especially, if you've got turbulence in your relationship, you're not as focused.
Yeah.
You are emotionally drained, so you don't have as much energy. And yeah, it just, everything feels shit if your relationship feels shit. And I love that you said that, like looking at the values and seeing where there's alignment, because I did the work before this relationship. The first date that me and my partner had, we literally sat down, and he's done the work too, and we were like, cool, these are our values. Where do they align? Where do they don't? Where do we want to be in a year's time? And there was some like tension in that. And we had, like, literally day one, we had conversations around, do we want more kids? Where do we want to live? What does that look like? And I don't think enough people actually, A, value themselves enough, B, are willing to walk away from something that's misaligned. I think, especially if we have a wound of like being loved or belonging or being chosen or not being abandoned in essence, we can sacrifice, not compromise, sacrifice what we truly want or who we truly are just for love and acceptance. I would love to talk to, if there's, 6, 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs listening to this, and they're women in business, high achievers, and they have the business, because, this is a growth podcast. I want to talk about the hard shit so business becomes easier. And maybe they're like, ready to build my business, but I don't know what that's going to look like for my relationship. What are some of the conversations they can start to have in order to build that awareness and alignment and have some of those conversations?
Yeah. So it's about being aware about what your communication is like in your relationship first. So you can't just go to a partner that you don't really have those conversations with anyway and say, I want to talk about building my business and blah, 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 and I want to talk about where we're going to be in 5 years. That can be quite threatening, especially if you're a very successful woman in a relationship, to just jump straight out of the gate saying, I need to know where your values are on X, Y, Z, can be a little bit confronting. So what I would say first is talk to somebody, get very clear in your head as to where you want to be and whether there's any other lens that you need to consider from your partner's point of view. So consideration is key. So if you can do that yourself and you believe that you can do that yourself, great. I would challenge most people on, I'd say at least have one sounding board that you take it to first before you take it to your partner. So do that first. Then start with a question and say, honey, be vulnerable. I'm thinking about where I want to be in 5 years, and I'd really like to have the conversation with you. Would you be open to that? Don't just say, where do you want to be in 5 years? Ask them if they have the capacity in their day, in their head, with everything that's going on, because they're obviously busy too. They have their own life. So ask them if they have the capacity to have the conversation. If not now, when? And sit down together at a time where you're both relaxed, you're both expecting the conversation, and then allow it to flow. And I always say, start it with a question of, is it okay to talk about this? And then bring your vulnerability to the table first.
Yes, I love that.
Because the more vulnerability you allow within yourself, the more you say, this is what's in my heart and my head. How does that land with you? Are we aligned on that? Or, please tell me how you're feeling about that. Then there's no defense.
Truly, truly. You hit something really important, because I feel the general population of high achieving women in their business specifically can be quite directive. Or
100%.
If people understand those labels. And understanding communication, understanding how men receive communication can be crucial, because it can be the difference between shutting down a conversation before it begins or opening up and inviting into a conversation that you really want to have. And I would say one of the biggest masks that I see women wear is haven't been received well, or they've felt rejected, or, there's years of hurt piled up in their relationship, and they close off their heart. They don't access their vulnerability because they're afraid that they're going to be rejected, which ensures that they are rejected. I know you understand this, but I almost want to dumb it down a little. It's like, if you've already decided that your partner's not going to have these conversations with you, he won't. But if you can access inside of yourself the vulnerability that is there. And I was actually saying this to him the other day, and it was something menial, like getting a cleaner or something. And I said to her, have you shown him how, like, what it's costing you? Have you shown him, like, have you gone to him with the tears that I'm seeing now and said, I'm exhausted and I need some support? And she said, no. And I was like, why? Like, men actually want to help us. Men want to support their partners, but if we go to them with like, fuck you, you're not helping me clean, I'm getting a cleaner, they take it they go into shame, they go into deflection, and they shut down. So I love that you've brought that, because I see it in what I do as well, where they try to communicate with their partner either like their children or like their teammates, and it just doesn't work. You need to get like really fluid with the way you communicate and really understand, in my view, how to communicate to the audience that you have. And you can, just because men are, it's almost like, well, they're straightforward and to the point and very logical, so I'm going to speak to them like that. But it's not the way. We need to rest back.
Yeah, and this is something that a lot don't understand, that I educate clients with too, is it really is incumbent on you to understand the polarity of masculine and feminine energy. Because as a businesswoman, we will literally step into our masculine energy to run our business.
Yes.
We are directive. We are, controlling. You can bring awareness to it and say, oh, I'm not going to be controlling about this. I'm not going to be controlling about that. But it's innate when you step into the role of a business owner, right? So if you try and bring that energy into your relationship with a man, it's not going to go well. You have to understand that you need to soften into your feminine energy. He is a whole and complete person in himself, operating in his masculine energy by default. And there are always exceptions to anything like this. So, and especially relationships that are same-sex couples, you have to understand how the dynamics play, and that we have both within us. So the only way to approach this is with vulnerability and is with openness, and here is how I am feeling. How does that align with you?
Quick pause. Are these conversations resonating with you? Do you finally feel seen in your business journey? This is the entire mission of Unmasked Founders. To strip back the highlight reel and tell the raw truth about multi, 6 and 7-figure success. We're here for the emotional costs, the days you want to quit, and the breakthroughs that follow. And we can bring you these essential conversations thanks to the support of our incredible partners, Cacao Collective and the OE Agency. These are the businesses who empower founders to keep going, providing the systems and the professional polish you need when you're busy navigating the emotional storm. If you love what you're hearing, don't miss an episode. Hit that subscribe button right now and check out Cacao Collective and the OE Agency in the show notes. Now, let's get back to it.
Here's what I would like for my life. How does that align with you? Here is how I'm feeling about our house. I'm exhausted. I think a cleaner would be helpful because I've thought about where my time is best spent, where my value is best spent, and that's the thing that makes sense to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I love this so much, and I just want to touch on the polarity piece. I've studied this for 6 years, to become more whole in who I was, and I noticed that my relationship with men, both intimately and professionally, was affected by the wounds I had around men. So the past version of me, I was a badass and like didn't feel my emotion, and I actually wore that as a badge of honor. I thought it was so cool that I never cried and never got angry. And
many do.
Basically I was just in a freeze response. But there was times where if a man would raise his voice at me in a boardroom, I would start crying and not understand. I would be like, I don't even give a fuck what he's saying. Why am I crying? And it was one of the threads that I started to pull to really start to understand why and what it was triggering inside of me. So I journeyed polarity, tantra, conscious relating, all that stuff. Still do.
Oh, we are kindred spirits.
Like I've studied polarity for 6 years now, and I still have teachers. And I'm actually going to touch on a point about time that you touched on before. And yeah, so polarity, for anyone that doesn't understand, is kind of like the chemical reaction between a man and a woman. Interestingly, and this is a conversation for another time, you can actually generate polarity with anyone if you understand the principles of what polarity is. So when anyone says to me, the spark's gone in my relationship, I'm like, there's no such thing. You've just fallen out of polarity and you're probably in resonance, which means you're probably behaving more like best friends than you are lovers. And when you understand the intricacies of, well, there's actually 3 types of relating, best friends, basically, lovers, and business partners. And that's men and women can drop in and out of masculine and feminine. It's very, I guess, technical for those that don't live in the world of polarity and relating. But I think for anyone listening that's like, what do you mean? What's this polarity thing? How do I get it back? To what we were just talking to, if you're especially a high achieving woman in business, you are going to relate with your partner 9 times out of 10 masculine to masculine, or as my teachers call it, alpha to alpha. And then you get nowhere. You're actually stuck in business partner mode, not lover mode. You need to understand as a woman, especially a high achieving woman, what energy am I in right now? Am I in my feminine energy? Am I receptive? Am I available to be led? Or am I stonewalling, controlling, thinking that I know better because maybe I'm more efficient? And the biggest thing I see in high achieving women is, I'm going to do it because I do it better, or I do it faster, or
I know how I like it.
Truly. So I may, literally in all areas. So I may as well just do it myself. And the message I want to get across here, which you can probably speak to more, is if we don't make space for our men to lead, they won't. Because our men at their core want to please us. And so if they think that it makes us happier to lead, they will let us lead. And what I did in my past relationship was I led for 10 years. I controlled him for 10 years and then wondered why he wasn't stepping up to lead. But I taught him for 10 years that it wasn't safe for him to lead because it was never good enough. He didn't do it like I did. It wasn't fast enough. God, let me just sort this out because you're getting it wrong. So I love that we've brought this through. It's not where I thought it went, but I probably shouldn't be surprised.
No accidents.
No accidents. And I think this is a really important conversation to have because I look at the intersection of psychology and strategy. So you can get strategy for business anywhere, but if you think that your relationship is going to get worse by making more money because it already sucks, you actually won't grow. And so if you look at the subconscious patterning, whether we're aware of it or not, women are actually love-led, and we crave that love and connection and to be chosen. So even if we have a relationship that feels a bit strained, and what I've witnessed in myself and my clients is you'll get to a point and your relationship will start to suffer more. Probably it already was suffering, but now it's suffering more. And then in your mind, you're like, I want to keep scaling, but your heart basically is saying, fuck that, because this relationship's already failing. Why would I want to get more busier and more successful? So if there's a woman out there that is like, I've been ignoring my relationship and my business is my safe space, and this is what it was for me. I was so successful actually because I avoided my relationship because my business almost was like a guaranteed return on investment because I knew I was really good at making money. But eventually my business started to fail because my relationship failed. So can you talk to, high achieving women maybe that are listening to this that are like, fuck, I'm actually really controlling and directive. And yeah, just some things that they could probably need to hear or check within themselves besides reaching out for a consult, because I think everyone needs it, but
Yeah.
how can they bring more awareness to this behavior?
So the easiest way, the quickest, and it's only one word that I need you to remember: soften. One word. And I've got goosebumps all over my body when I say that, because I say it to myself when I'm having and usually when you have to have a conversation with your partner, it's because something's frustrating you. You know, if you have to sit down and have a serious conversation, especially if you're a high achieving woman, it's because something's not working and you want to fix it. So before you even attempt to enter the realm of a conversation, soften. Don't go in there trying to fix it. Don't go in there with your mindset as he needs to understand this or he needs to do this. So the first thing is to soften. And then the second thing I would say is, from that place of softness, how can you open more? How can you be more nurturing? How can you be more understanding? How can you see his point of view before you even ask him for it? Because women have 10 times stronger intuition than men do. That is why we lead from love. That's why we're incredible leaders and why we're incredible business people. It's because we have that intuition and we lead from that whether we realize it or not. So use it to your advantage. Use it to your advantage. Understand within yourself that it will come online when you soften. It will come online when you embody that feminine energy. Sit there and be like, right, what angle is he coming at this from? What do I need to understand so that I can meet him where he is? Not try to drag him to meet me where I am.
I love that.
And it's the best negotiation technique in business too, because what is negotiation? Trying to come to an agreement on something, right? So if you can connect with your intuition to that other person and find out every single angle that they're coming from, what they need, what they value, what they're trying to create, what they're trying to do, what they're struggling with, and you can address all of those points before they even tell you, mission accomplished.
For someone that's like, what the fuck do you mean by soften? Because I get it, but again, I've been in this work for some time, and I think of the 5-10 year ago version of me.
Yeah.
What do you mean by soften, and what's something they can anchor to?
Okay, so breath is a big one, and you mentioned breath work was your gateway drug to all of your healing. It really does start there. So when we're high achieving women, as we know, we are go, go, go. Everything's efficient. Everything's action oriented, all of that type of thing. Switch from doing to being. And how to explain this is just, okay, if I had nothing else to do right now but breathe, how would I feel in my body? That's the easiest way I can explain it. If I had nothing else in my life, no person to worry about, no children to worry about, no business to worry about, and I was just sitting here being.
Yeah.
How would I feel in my body?
I love that. And I would also add, lead with your heart, not your head.
Yeah. Some people have no idea how to distinguish that either.
Yes.
Absolutely none, because they're so used to, okay, I feel like I need to do this, head makes it happen. Right? So to soften into your being and your heart and your intuition and everything that we're saying is a learned practice.
Really.
And it's something that you need to be self-responsible for and seek out the knowledge in order to do it.
I want to touch on this self-responsibility part because one thing that really pisses me off, if I'm being quite honest, is especially people that are new to the work, or maybe we've just spoken about polarity and you're going to go Google polarity and it's going to tell you that you have to be soft and surrendered 24/7 and you're not feminine if you're in business and all of this bullshit. But to this self-responsibility, I think where I witness people get caught up is, well, I'm just going to be more feminine, he's going to be more masculine. And this was actually the trap I fell into when I started the work. Me and my ex-husband are great friends, and actually our values were very unaligned and we probably never should have gotten married, but I didn't know who I was and what to ask. We were together.
So many people do that.
So many.
Yeah.
So and we're great friends, but yeah, we're not moving in the same direction. But back when I first started this work, before I left the relationship, I read some polarity books and I did some training, and I was like, right, I've decided that now I'm just going to be this soft, surrendered, feminine woman. And a few things happened. My business failed because you need to be in your masculine actually to hold the container of a business. Yes, you can still be heart-led inside of that. Yes, you can still have receptiveness inside of that. But the foundations and the container of a business are masculine because you need structure. And without structure, your business will fail. So that's hot tip. Don't go down that path.
Yeah.
Secondly, is the self-responsibility of, and especially if you were like me that maybe didn't know how to be with their emotions or feel their emotions or healthily express their emotions, I think there can be this trap of, if my man doesn't hold me in all of this, then he's the problem. And I just wanted to highlight this self-responsibility piece, because if you're not willing to hold yourself in it first, then you don't have the right actually to ask your partner to hold you in it. And I think especially for those that are new in the work, it's like, cool, I'm doing these practices and I'm going to feel these emotions and I want my partner to hold space for me. But you've never actually been in deep enough relationship with yourself. And it's no one's responsibility to fix you. So if you're not willing to sit with your grief and sit with your abandonment and sit with your self-hate and sit with your anger at the masculine because your uncle abused you or your dad abandoned you or whatever it might be, then you kind of don't have the right, in my view, to ask your partner to hold you in that. I will add to that sometimes stuff comes up in relationship that can't come up until you're in relationship.
Oh, so true.
So true.
They are the biggest lessons.
Ready for the man. And then he comes into my life and I'm like, what?
What is this?
What is all this stuff that is coming up? So there is like stuff that you're not going to see until you're loved well, actually, because you feel safe enough to feel it. But I would love you to touch on this self-responsibility part, and maybe a woman that's sitting here going, I don't have a partner, I'm going to wait till he comes, or I'm going to wait till he leads because I've decided that masculine men lead now, and I'm going to wait till he does everything until I do the work. So can we touch on this, like self-responsibility as a woman to actually go, I'm going to take responsibility for my energy and the way I show up and trust that he will rise to meet you there?
I'll put it to you this way. We're women growing businesses, right? So I'll use the business analogy too. Would you sit back and wait for someone to create your business for you?
I love that.
Would you sit back and allow somebody to tell you exactly how to run your business? This is where self-responsibility comes in. And when we can talk about masculine and feminine energy and polarity and whatever else, but it comes down to the fundamental, idea of, are you going to wait till someone else wants you to be a better person, somebody else wants you to step into your power, or are you going to figure out who the fuck that is on your own? And I'm sorry if I can't swear.
No, swear. It's called unmasked. We don't wear any masks here.
But this is the thing. Are you going to wait to become a better version of yourself, or are you going to invest in yourself to the level of, you know what, I want to live a life that is, and you can't see my vision, but I'm surrounded by my vision boards in my office. I want to live that life. What woman do I need to be that attracts this type of man, this type of business, this type of monetary reward, these types of friendships? Because what you are is what you attract, not what you think about, not what you want, what you are, your vibration. So if you want a man that is masculine and in touch and whatever else, you have to know which energies to switch on and off in order to bring him into your orbit. And when you meet him, he could walk past you tomorrow. But when you see him, you have to be able to recognize the feeling. You have to be able to listen to what he says, how he says it. It has to resonate with you. And then you have to allow him to step in. So the self-responsibility doesn't start when you get in the relationship. It starts when you're thinking about what relationship you want.
And
that's when I say, you're the source in the bottle. You can't see what you are objectively. So if you don't have a man, if you don't have a relationship that you're happy in, if you don't have friendships that you can rely on and whatever, it is up to you to go and find out why. What am I missing? What do I have to be? Who do I have to be? What's getting in the way? That's why my job exists, because I find out what is in the way that you cannot see. I can sit there and I go, okay, from what you're telling me, this is what I'm hearing. Does that resonate with you? And then it's light bulb moments all over the place, because I never thought about it that way. And every one of my clients is, I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do. I don't know how you do it. Marketing's a bitch for me, I can tell you right now, right? Because they're like, I don't know what you do and how you do it, because it's just, you're just asking me questions. I'm telling you, I'm like, that's what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. All in you. But you can't see it if you're having a conversation with yourself in the mirror, which I do advocate, by the way, but there are still going to be blocks. So, and a lot of it's because, if we've experienced anything in our younger years, that we didn't like, our mind is amazing at looking after itself and protecting ourselves. It will intentionally block you off from those experiences and those learnings. So the self-responsibility piece needs to start when you don't have what you want. Same as people go to you for helping them scale their business to another level. You want to be a better human, you talk to someone who's specialized in making better humans. And I say the word better, but nobody's better or worse than anyone. We're just at different stages, right?
Truly.
Yeah. So it's just about knowing that, okay, I'm not going to be aware of everything. I don't know what I don't know, but how do I find out? That's self-responsibility.
Yeah, so true. So true. For the women,
one thing, can I add one thing to that?
Yeah, please.
Okay. And because this is sometimes what I see with people a lot as well. If you're in a situation where you don't have what you want, you can either go the self-responsibility finding out route, or you can go to the numbing and the distraction, dating apps, drugs, alcohol, every TV shows, everything that makes you feel better about being who you are and gets you back into that little comfort zone, bitching to your friends, there's no good men anymore, my family's giving me shit. Face the negativity, because you can go one of two ways. You can numb and distract, or you can be self-responsible. And I think that's a very important thing to mention.
I love that. And I think like the journey to becoming self-responsible is grace, but awareness. So about a year before I met my partner, actually, I was on dating apps and I was like, maybe I just need to be here. Like maybe I'm not looking hard enough, basically, which that's not what it's about. But
that's the masculine energy of it.
Right. And so I was on these apps and I realized I was like, there's so much of me that knows he's not going to be here, but I really love the fact that I feel like I'm doing something about it. Yeah. And then I started to look at, what am I avoiding being on here? Touching the loneliness, touching the parts of me that might not feel ready. So I love that you've brought that awareness in, because, self-responsibility is all of it. I just want to loop back really quickly to, you said when you were talking about values and you're speaking to high-achieving women and men as well, I assume, that, time can be one of those things where you're like, well, I want this, but I don't have time for it, or how do I make time for both? And for me, what's really important is routine and ritual, which is actually quite masculine, but this is where people can, I guess, not support themselves to have what they want. So me and my partner actually value relationships very highly in our values. And 3 nights a week, non-negotiable, we do an intimacy practice. And no, I don't mean sex. Yes, it does end up in that 9 times out of 10, but it's not the
That's delicious. I got goosebumps you just saying that, because that's all my vibe. Yep.
So we do 3 nights a week. That's also another podcast from another time. But
yes,
we do 3 nights a week of an I see, I feel practice, which allows us to both be seen in what we're feeling. And even if we feel like the relationship's good, oftentimes we'll actually get to a deeper layer of stuff that we didn't realize was there in the first place. And I think for me and for anyone listening that's like, yeah, I don't have time either. How do you make time for it all? I have 2 businesses. I'm a mother and I'm a devotional partner, like trad wife to most of that description. But I learned what I valued most. And actually, I value love more than I value purpose, which is business. And we made non-negotiable. So it's not like a date night once a week that gets shifted every time you're busy. We do 3 nights a week, and generally it's more than that. But without fail, even just 20 minutes of actually seeing each other and feeling each other and allowing each other to be witnessed. And I think it doesn't need to be big. It doesn't need to be a 3-hour date. It can literally just be moments of time where you're prioritizing the depth of connection that you desire. So, yeah, I think I just wanted to bring that in because I hear the same, like I don't have time. And I would ask, where are you on social media? Because if that's 20 minutes of doom scrolling, that could have been 20 minutes of connection. Yeah.
So everybody makes time for what's important to them without exception. Yes. So if you say you don't have time, you're avoiding something. What are you avoiding? Are you avoiding being seen? Are you avoiding being heard, being felt? Do you think it's all too hard? Are you exhausted and you need more time for yourself above what you would spend with your husband? And that's 9 times out of 10 what people are struggling with. They resent that they have to make time for their partner because they don't feel they have enough time for themselves.
I love that, because also if you structure it right and you get support and you do practices, you feel so seen and validated in that. And it's about getting back on the same team and moving in the same direction and holding the vision of what's possible. Because
a lot of people are scared of that, though, because they don't necessarily know. I've found this in every client. They don't know where the resistance comes from. They can't fix it. And a lot of the time it's coming from childhood beliefs or childhood conditioning, in being seen and heard and all of that, everything I went through.
Yes.
So it becomes something that it becomes all too hard, because if you open the can of worms, you never know what's going to come out.
Yes.
So, and if you've only got your partner, you feel you've only got your partner that's going to see that, what kicks in? The fear.
Yeah, fear of losing them.
The fear of being left.
Yes.
Fear of not belonging, the fear of being too much.
Yes.
So that's why when anybody says that they don't have time, I usually bring it back to the can of worms, because that's usually what it is.
Yeah, I love that. I also want to touch real quickly. I feel like we could go over time for hours.
Oh, we definitely could. We'll have to do another couple.
We'll have to do another one. But I love bringing this conversation through. My partner in his previous relationship wasn't the man that he is in this relationship.
Nor was mine.
And it really, honestly, I've had the pleasure of witnessing in real time how women actually lead love. So again, polarity teaching is men lead. I want them to lead this shift in our relationship, and it's just not true, because men are purpose driven and women are love driven. Even if that's a little bit skewed in your values because of past traumas or hurts or the way you've been conditioned, at our core, that's who we are. And it's been really amazing, and I'll get you to speak to this, to actually witness how my energy sets the tone, not his. So if I come to him in boss babe masculine, I receive, and it's not intentional from him. Actually, he loves my boss babe. He encourages it, but I don't feel nourished in that energy. No. I feel like I've got a business partner. And sometimes I notice myself getting agitated because I'm like, stop fucking asking me questions about my business, because I don't really care right now. Can you just fuck me?
Yeah.
And then I check myself and I'm like, oh, I came to that conversation in Boss Babe.
Yep.
Versus when I'm like, all right, my partner just walked in the door, and this is what I often practice, is I'm Boss Babe until he gets home. And then if I don't stop what I'm doing, we'll stay in resonance or business partners, and that feels yuck.
Yeah.
Necessary sometimes, but it feels yuck. But I'm the one that controls how he responds to me or reacts to me, for those that don't understand the language. And my partner in his past relationship didn't show up, didn't lead, wasn't the man that he is, because there wasn't space for him to do that in that relationship. And I was the same to my ex-husband. I was like, why aren't you leading? And then now with the awareness I have, I was like, oh, I didn't let him ever. There was no space for him because I was in control. So I just want to speak to this really quickly in that, yes, it touches on self-responsibility, but almost sometimes I honestly, it's like I'm living in a dream because I'm like everyone, all the teachings that I've done, all the training that I've done, all the learnings that I've done on polarity, and I get to witness in real time how I set the tone, how if I breathe and soften and surrender and drop and let go, he comes to me in a more leading, I guess, masculine, like I want to say dominant way, but that might
trigger people. Yeah.
But it's like in those moments I don't want to think, I just want to feel. And when I make space to get out of my head and drop into my body and drop into my heart, and one practice I do to soften is I'll breathe into my heart. And I'll let the tears come if there's tears there. I'll let whatever emotion is there come up. And I think sometimes we don't soften because we're afraid of what's underneath. But can you speak to the leading with what energy we want so they can meet us in that?
Yeah. Yeah. So again, it comes down to the awareness of what energy you're playing with. So, and the self-responsibility of that. So one thing that I do, you know, that I can be going, and I've noticed the difference. I can be going hard all day. You know, I work from home, but it's constant. I might break for a minute and blah, blah, blah. But when I know my husband walks in the door, is going to walk in the door at 6 o'clock, I will stop half an hour beforehand. No matter what's going on, I'll tie up any loose ends that I have to, unless there's a big exception that I need to, you know, but I'll turn all the lights off in the house. I'll light candles everywhere. I'll take my knickers off. I put a dress on. I'll take my knickers off, and I will sit there just being like, oh, the day's over, like just, you know, moving my body, stretching my body out, blah, blah, blah. That is a very different woman that will greet her husband when he walks in the door than the woman who's, hey, babe, and still working frantically on a laptop. So
important.
Yeah. and I encourage any woman, you want to feel more feminine, take your knickers off, wear a dress.
With and just be in that energy. And I love this.
Yeah.
I honestly, it's like chalk and cheese. Like if I've got a deadline and I don't drop into wife before he comes home, almost for the whole night, we're stuck in resonance versus polarity, which is attraction essentially. So I love that. I'm going to try that too. Move my meditation to the middle of the lounge room and do it in a dress with no underwear on. Like,
yeah, it's amazing, especially maxi dresses, because you've got lots of like fabric flowing around you and the air moves, and you know, it doesn't have to be, femininity doesn't have to be vulgar or manipulative or overt. You know, that's the shadow of feminine. You know, that's the manipulation of feminine. Feminine is about self and feeling and embodiment. And if you understand that, you know, if you don't, totally fine. Give me a call, reach out to me on socials, I'll explain it to you, right? It's one of those things, again, that you are responsible for. If you want your man to be in his masculine and, you know, envelop you in a hug and whatever, I will literally, if I'm sitting on the couch when my husband gets home, I'll scream out baby and I'll run to the door and I'll jump into his arms.
Babe.
I kid you not, every single day.
Yeah.
Can you feel, you might not think, but can you feel the difference in that welcome? Then I'll be right with you, babe. I haven't got dinner yet. I haven't done this, blah, 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 blah. I mean, my body just contracts even saying that.
Truly.
So, and there are days that it'll happen. So don't beat yourself up. There are days that it'll happen, but understand the difference.
I love that. And I love that awareness, because same. And it's for me, because we have our kids a week on, a week off. And I notice we're more in resonance, because I'm like, okay, kids are home from school. Here's the to-do list. Here's everything I've got to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, I can just
don't beat yourself up. Fine.
Oh, I don't, but it's like I can witness, and even in this conversation, I'm like, I need to actually remember that it's probably more important on those days. And like for the mums listening, the to-do list is always going to be there. The kids are always going to have needs that need to be met. Dinner's always going to need to be made. And again, I just have better boundaries with myself. Don't beat myself up if I drop those boundaries, but just the awareness of, I'm setting the tone here.
Yeah.
So what can I do to invite more of his leadership or more of his attention or more of his softening into like receiving the nurturing of a woman that is like open and available for his love.
Yeah. And a big one too is if you're feeling, especially when there are kids around, if you're feeling that to-do list of responsibility, don't be afraid in asking for help. Men love being of service.
Yes.
They are the most incredibly, nurturing in their own way in taking action that will serve you.
Yes.
Think of yourself as the goddess. That's the energy to embody. If you are under pressure with anything, and I do this with my husband, and he rises to it every time. I'll just say, baby, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Again, the vulnerability. I'm feeling overwhelmed with X, Y, Z. Is there any way you can help me with something there? Sure enough, he'll swoop in and do the whole damn thing.
So true.
Right? And and God, do I love him for that. Oh, this is the thing. There's polarity right there.
Literally.
Yeah, but it's about being honest about how you're feeling.
Baby,
I'm feeling really overwhelmed, and I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start, babe. I need your help. Okay, what do you need help with? They might ask questions, so just allow yourself to receive the questions and just be like, I just need to know what you can help me with in this moment. They'll swoop in. And
I love it. I love it. Courtney, this has been such a beautiful, delicious, insightful conversation. I'm so glad we got to connect. Before we finish, I would love for you to let people know where they can find you and just any parting words of wisdom for the women listening.
Yeah, so the biggest thing is, any resistance in your life is going to come from shame on some level. So don't be scared of it. And that's easy to say, but it's one of those things like I do all my social media, so reach out to me on social media if you are experiencing negativity because that's your biggest indicator. It's data. It's not because you're doing anything wrong. It is literally there to serve you and show you where you're out of alignment. It is data. So and the more conversations that we have, the more it frees that up and long term so you can do it yourself, right? But my biggest thing is if we're still working together after a year, if I haven't done my job is what I basically say to everybody, but I have clients who just check in with me once a month and whatever ongoing, that's fine. But the tools that I give you are so that you can self-regulate. So that you can know yourself, accept responsibility for yourself and debunk your own beliefs in real time. So don't beat yourself up. Negativity is just an indicator and reach out for help. It is the most efficient way to read the label if you're the source.
I love that.
Yeah. So my socials are just, you can Google my name and you'll find me. My website is my name. Yeah. Link all my stuff. But yeah, I do all my own socials. So, and I answer questions. I try to do them every day. I'll answer questions to my community that they send in. And it's all anonymous. So yeah, if you need some help, I'm here.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure connecting.
Oh, the pleasure's mine. You're just absolutely beautiful.
Thank you for listening to Unmasked Founders with me, Leslie Kay. Follow Leslie Kay on social media for more insights, and we'll see you in the next episode. You can find me at Leslie with a Z, Kaye. Check the show notes for how to spell my name. Remember, true success is built from the inside out.